This is actually a really important. I make videos on unique lighting mods, and people kind of snore, but when I talk about gear, they seem to love it. I'd rather make videos on lighting equipment and stuff. People say, yeah, make those videos, and every time I make them, people go, it's like, this is a completely unique light mod you could like make yourself in your house for $3. People start to snore. Anyway, recently I was listening to some classical harp music on a vinyl record with a really amazing tube amp and awesome set of speakers, not my house. And I remember old enough to remember vinyl records, like the folks would be playing vinyl records. And anyway, I haven't heard it for many countless years because we're all listening to CD crap and MP3 crap. As well, it's good enough, it's portable, and it is. But I was listening to the vinyl play of that harp. I love harp music especially. Love it. Harp music. I'm going to get a vinyl record player, by the way. I can't afford a really good tube amp or great speakers. I've got a decent set of speakers. They're kind of cheap, but decent. Anyway, I'm going to get a record player. I'm going to take advantage of all the cheap vinyl records on eBay. Like the $2 ones. Anyway, I was listening to what an audio, like this super guru audiophile said. He's, I think it's like his speaker system's $50,000 or whatnot. All he does is like Poindexter, digital and analog audio. And one of the important things he says, and this is so important of like Sony and Fujifilm and Nikon and the rest of these people, and it's something that you don't get. You don't get it. And what is it you don't get? And he was talking about vinyl records versus CDs. And he said, on paper, a CD is superior. And he's right about that. It's got dynamic range, the frequency response. The CD has superior lack of noise. But it's also compressed. It doesn't have issues. Vinyl records, you can't shake it when it's on the player. You get expensive amplifier, expensive. That's not portable. My iPod is like the size of a postage stamp. I listen to my music everywhere I go at these little miniature mini iPods. The iPod Shuffle, technically, is what it's called. Little tiny sucker. And he's right on that. The CD is superior. You're not taking a vinyl record to your car, are you? I think someone does have a vinyl. I saw a video of someone had a vinyl record player in their car. That was kind of ingenious. I don't know how it keeps it from skipping. Like, see, the needle goes over a speed bump. The point being is that what's on paper doesn't really matter. You can put a lot of stuff on. Sony, for example. Now, I tested out the A9. Now, the A9 has one thing that's absolutely amazing about it. I tested it thoroughly, and I gave it a very fair review. The A9, when you're shooting outdoors, bright sunlight, electronic shutter, the tracking is amazing. Okay? Amazing. Incredible buffer. Blackout time, basically non-existent. It is non-existent. That's amazing. Here's what's not amazing. Now, if you look at that camera, it's just amazing. What's not amazing about that camera, for example, it has a crappy 5 frame per second mechanical shutter. Crappy. Photojournalists and newsies, people who shoot wedding events, that's just too effing slow. This camera is years old. Mechanical shutter, you got 11 frames per second, for Christ's sakes. That camera is $4,300. This camera, $1,600 currently. Horrible, horrible customer service. The tech support is horrible. It's actually the worst ergonomics of any camera I've ever held. Absolutely the worst. I have no idea what cross-eyed moron designed the ergonomics on that camera. It was actually bruising my knuckles holding it. The most insane, stupid, and Fro knows photo. I mean, we don't agree on much, but when he was holding it, he was like, my God, it's the worst ergonomics ever. Me and him agree on that. I don't care if you hate me for saying that. I mean, Sony is not a camera company. It's a consumer electronics company. When you buy a camera based upon specifications, you really don't know what the hell you're doing. It's kind of like buying it. Now, I'm an American, I love America, yada, but I'm not going to buy an American-made car because they suck. Okay? I think everybody's going to agree with me that's got half a brain. I think recently, I forget who did it, Consumer Reports came out saying Toyota's #1, and the last one was Cadillac, and right above that was GMC, right at the bottom of the barrel. American-made cars, they suck. They're unreliable. They fall apart. They rust. When you do a quick turnaround, you notice that the car is already rusted. I mean, on specifications, they can make a car look really, really good. It's like, well, it gets so many miles per gallon in the Cadillac so-and-so. That's specifications. That's not the true interface of the car. When you buy a camera based upon specifications like the Sony A9, for example, and I'll admit, that camera is a one-hit wonder. When you take that camera outside, you shoot sports with it, it's like, wow, that's great. Autofocus tracking, incredible. Frame per second, incredible. Mechanical shutter sucks. The ergonomics sucks. The lack of lenses for it sucks. They're gonna 4,000, but my God, the Nikon D850 is a far superior camera for $1,300 less. It's got a billion times more lenses with it. Oh, and the menu system on the Sony system. What moron! And the people that even love Sony admit this. The menu system sucks. I mean, what? I mean, there's ergonomics, there's the physical ergonomics, and there's the interface ergonomics, i.e. the menu system. My God, the menu system, because I made many videos testing the Sony A9. I still have a couple. This is a Sony microphone. I've got some Sony point-and-shoot cameras. Point-and-shoot cameras. As we call them, point-and-shoot cameras. You go off specification. Well, this thing, comment from this guy, on a paper, CD looks better. You know, and you look at vinyl records, and he's right. You know, it's noisy, it's hiss, you know, the needle's jumping. Yeah, but you play a vinyl record. I'm not saying the Fujifilm was a vinyl record. But you go off specifications, you're making a big, stupid-ass mistake. I mean, you just are. Sony's not a camera company. I mean, Fujifilm sticks by this camera. You know the firmware updates they keep releasing for this camera? They're invested in it. When you buy it, you know that you've actually almost, in a roundabout way, kind of married Fujifilm. When you buy a Sony camera, it's like you married a crazy chick that's on, like, lithium. That's gonna, like, maybe, like, pull a Lorena Bobbitt on you while you're sleeping. You know, like, when you marry Sony, you don't marry Sony. They don't give a damn about it. They're gonna pull a Lorena Bobbitt on you while you're sleeping. Yeah, I don't know if you know who Lorena Bobbitt was. Wham! Fujifilm keeps giving you the firmware updates. This applies to Nikon. Doesn't do firmware updates, really. Not unless it's like it's a series. At Nikon, you get a firmware update only when the people at Nikon go, oh my God, this is a real problem. We need to fix this. Like as far as improving the camera, Nikon don't do that. Fujifilm does that in spades. But if you went off specifications, if you're just a common idiot, which most people are, if you're just a common idiot, and you went off the specifications of like, oh, this is the Sony A9, and this is the X-T2 Fuji, and you just ignore the insane, stupid $4,300 price tag on this. If you ignored that stupid, insane price tag, oh, the Sony A9 is better. Oh, yeah, this Fuji X-T2, no. No. I can buy whatever camera I want, you know? I got way too many cameras. I got 14 cameras currently. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lenses. I'm not rich at all, but, you know, I have that stuff. I wouldn't buy that Sony A9 camera if you stuck a loaded weapon to my head. I tested the camera. You know, there's a narrow spectrum of that camera that's just incredible. On paper, and this gets back to the audiophile expert. This is a guy that has, like, thousands of CDs and, like, many thousands of vinyl records. And he's right. You know, on paper, the CD is superior. These people that are like, some of these, and I've been to some of these, I know some really rich people. And as the guy I heard the harp music from, it's like, when you go in this house, you see a big CD system. No, they got like a bunch of vinyl records and like a tube preamp and this expensive. It's like, the guy with all the money is listening to vinyl. Why is he doing that? You know, vinyl is scratchy, noisy, he's got dust, you got to clean the records. Your needle jumps, you got to replace the needle, you know, all that crap. You know, you can't be like, make vibrations around the speaker system, I mean, around the record player, because obviously the needle jump, right? You can't go on what's paper specifications. Fujifilm has an ecosystem. You know, the amazing thing about Sony's model is, and they pulled this in the past, even the people that love Sony will admit it, it's like, if Sony got a problem like the A6000, A6300, if there's a problem with it, and they don't fix it via firmware, and they don't fix it, it's like, we're going to discontinue it and come up with it. What was the time difference between the A6300 and A60? It was like 8 months. We're just going to discontinue it. That's how they fix something. I swear to God, like, Sony has no parts for their cameras. And it is amazing. There's two ways to do something. Like, We're going to build a camera. We're going to think about it a long time before we build it. We're going to give it firmware updates and support, and it's going to be around for years before we issue a revised version like Fujifilm. And if you break it, you drop it. We got parts. We're going to fix it. Sony's idea is that we're going to release a camera. If it's broke or whatever, we got the parts to fix it. You just wait a few more months. We'll come out with the newer model. Isn't that a brilliant scheme? It is a scheme, really. It is a different sort of methodology. We don't support that camera. It's like, why don't you support it? Why don't you have parts for it? Because we're going to obsolete it a few months from now, and we're going to come out with the latest one. If you come out with a new camera model to obsolete the one before it, not only does that turn the expensive camera that you bought into a worthless piece of crap that you can't even give away on eBay, you know what I mean? It's like nobody wants to buy a Sony camera. Well, why not? Because, well, that camera's 10 months old. It's already been obsoleted by the latest. Like, wow, that's good. You don't even need firmware updates, and you don't even need parts to fix a broken one. You're just going to obsolete it and come up with a new model 9 months later. Or in the case of 6300, 6500, it was like 8 months later. Wow, that's a brilliant marketing scam. Scheme. So, you judge a camera on specifications, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. And that's not my opinion, that's just a hardcore fact. There's something called an ecosystem, too. You know what an ecosystem is? It's like a used car. Here's a bad ecosystem. When you buy a used car from a shyster, a schmuck, he's like, as soon as you roll off the car lot with it, it's like he's folded up tent and disappeared. That means you got a bad ecosystem. It's like he got your money and he's disappeared. A great ecosystem is like you buy a car from a really great dealership and you come back, they service it, and you get the warranty and they got the parts to fix it, and it works really well, and it may not be the fastest car in the world, but you got the service and it's an enjoyable experience. Some people just don't get that. They don't know what it was like. What's the most important part of a camera? Well, specifications. No, girlfriend, the most important part is the ecosystem. Ecosystem. Something bit me on my leg. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.